Hello and welcome. Today we're going to look at Oracle AI services and how they can give us innovation in eBusiness Suite. Oracle have embedded AI into their Fusion, and you will see all the marketing that says built in, not bolted on. But that doesn't mean that we can't have AI for our eBusiness Suite. It's not there. It's not embedded. Oracle have given us one example of how to use it, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But their AI services are available for any data source, of which eBusiness Suite is one of them. So we've been looking at how to bring innovation with eBusiness Suite, and this is the third in a series of webinars. And on this screen, there are two QR codes to the previous ones. So the last one was around modernizing with Apex, and the first one was around reimagining our integrations. Now, don't worry if you don't get the QR codes, it will be in the email that comes out to you. Okay, Drew? So very quickly, we're from Inoapps, and Inoapps is an Oracle-only systems integrator. We don't do anything but Oracle, but we do all Oracle, both applications and technology, managed services and professional services. And so if you've got any Oracle question, then ask Inoapps. My name's Deborah Lilly, and I look after customer success at Inoapps, and I'm going to be joined for the technical part by my colleague Drew. Drew, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Deborah. My name is Drew Edgar. My title at Inoapps is VP of Application Technology and Products. I'm essentially responsible for globally for all of the technical components that we do with Oracle Cloud implementations, our eBusiness, our Oracle Apex, and we also have a products division as well as that, where we develop products that we sell out to the market.
So Drew, can you start by explaining to us that technical landscape that allows us to use AI services with other data sources?
I can, thanks, Deborah. So Oracle have got a couple of slides that I like to share that show at a high level some of the AI components that they're using. The one I quite like that's on the screen at the moment is a very simple way of showing the services broken down from they have now obviously not for the e-business that we're talking about today, but their SaaS applications does have AI embedded, and that's the purple box. But then they have the AI services that you can call upon out with that. You can call on different models, there's data, and there's infrastructure. Now, another slide that uses that explains it quite well is the purple area is the app side, where they have got AI embedded within their Oracle Cloud HCM and ERP. But then there's also Oracle Cloud infrastructure, which AI services sit upon, and then you have your different AI models as well. So it's a good diagram to sort of get an understanding of where the AI sort of services sit. Now, the next slide that we will talk about in a bit more detail, but again shows those different brackets that you were seeing. So the application at the top is showing you what's embedded within the SaaS layer, and then you have the AI services that you can call upon, that we're going to talk about today, different models that you can use, and then also from the data side, we'll talk about a couple of those services, and then there's the infrastructure side as well. So that gives you a good high-level overview of some of the services. Now, this is not an extensive list. This is Oracle's always changing and always bringing in new technology and new AI components. But the reason we're showing this today is it's a good view, and we're going to explain a couple of them today. Now, just before I hand back to Deborah, I want to come back to that high-level view just so you can get an understanding. So obviously, Fusion customers have got the purple box. They've got the SaaS apps, but the eBusiness customers can actually call upon all four services other than that purple box. And we're going to talk about that today. Now, just before I pass over to Deborah, I want to just focus on the services we're going to discuss. So from the AI services, we're going to talk about Gen AI. We're going to talk about Code Assist and document understanding. And from the sort of data platform side, we're going to talk about database AI vector search and autonomous database select AI. As I said, there's lots of services there, but these are the ones that we are venturing into and we're going to discuss today. Deborah.
Okay, so one of the components that Drew talked about was the infrastructure. And we're going to have a quick review of what Oracle have delivered that Ask eBusiness Suite. But one of the first questions I get asked is, oh, well, I'm not using the autonomous database or the AI database, which is where those services need to run. So does that mean that I can't have AI? And we're very clear in saying, no, that doesn't mean that. It might mean that you need a standalone version of the AI database to run those services, but you don't have to have eBusiness Suite running on it in order to be able to use it. Now, to confuse that message, just before Christmas, Oracle announced that they were making 26AI available for on-premise platforms. And so then people are saying, oh, does that mean that I can now run my eBusiness Suite on 26AI? Well, the answer is no. As of today, the 21st of January, that has not yet been released. They've said they'll do it in January, and I saw on Twitter today that it's still expected to be January, but that general availability has not yet happened. When it does happen, it will need to be certified with the eBusiness Suite. And we have spoken to the eBusiness Suite development team, and they believe that they will have it certified within 6 months. So around the middle of the year, they expect that one of their tech patches to include the ability for you to upgrade to 26AI for your eBusiness Suite. But even if it was available today, or even if you wait till the end of June, you can't use it until you've actually done your upgrade. And nowadays, with what we've done to our databases, all of the customizations that we've got, that's not an overnight job. So what we're talking about today, what you can do today, and where you may need an instance of the AI database, then that's perfectly okay and will work until and when you have got to that stage that in the future we will be able to upgrade to a 26AI for our eBusiness Suite. Now, I hope that clears up that confusion before we go in and talk about where it is today, where eBusiness Suite is not certified against an AI version of the database. Next slide, Drew. Okay, so Oracle have a service called Select AI, which is the ability to help you write SQL statements, which is great because if you think about it, eBusiness Suite is a relational database, and that's how we get data out. So what I'm going to talk about here is the constraints that we had before AI. So Oracle's eBusiness Suite database is relational, and we use SQL to get that data out. For end users or subject matter experts, Oracle gave us Oracle Discoverer, which generated that SQL for us. It was quite technical, but it generated that SQL for us. Now, it was not easy. You needed to understand the database because in Oracle eBusiness Suite, all of the logic is in the application. There is no logic in the database. So whilst you know that invoice headers is joined to invoice lines, the database does not know that. That logic is in the application. So when you were using Oracle Discoverer, you had to know all of that information, and you had to put those links in yourself. If you looked at the Oracle Discoverer Technical Reference Manual, which was about an inch thick, on the last page, it said, if you're doing this for eBusiness Suite, we recommend that you buy a product called Noetics. And what Noetics did was it generated views of how you had implemented eBusiness Suite. And then it used those views to create this layer so that Discoverer understood that logic that was in the application. As time moved on and we got more tools from Oracle, we had BI Publisher, And very commonly today, people are using Oracle Apex with eBusiness Suite. And again, we had a webinar a couple of weeks ago on that, which was on that QR code. And then there are other third-party tools that help you at that SQL layer to generate what you need. And enigmatics, blitz reporting is a good example of that. Now, when we're talking about analytics and we want more information out, Oracle Analytics will work with eBusiness Suite, or we can use it with eBusiness Suite. But most customers use a third-party solution. And I've just put 3 down here: Splash BI, Insight, and Orbit. There are so many of them, and what I'm trying to show you here is that we've always had this issue that getting to that data in eBusiness Suite has been a challenge. And it's just the way that it was designed at the time many years ago. And all the logic that we needed was in the application. So when Fusion came along, one of the things that eBusiness Suite customers said was, actually, we're quite happy in eBusiness Suite, we want to stay there, but we love the dashboards that you've put into Fusion, where people are having information pushed to them rather than having to write reports and go looking for it. And so Oracle, to try and solve that problem, came up with their enterprise command centers. And those enterprise command centers are really good. They have these dashboards. If you haven't looked at them, go and have a look at them. But what they did was they used some technology, and again, we had a webinar about that. If you look at the technology, what it did was it created some in-memory views of the data so that it got past that problem, this old age problem that we have with eBusiness Suite about how do you get to the logic in the data. So if we move on again, okay, what Fusion have now got embedded AI. How can we have AI with eBusiness Suite? So what Oracle did was they came up with something called Ask EBS. Now, Ask EBS allows you to use natural language. Ask a question: who was my biggest supplier last year? Which was the oldest unpaid invoice in my system? Ask a question in natural language and get it to go away and write you a SQL statement to get you that answer. That's what the Select AI service does. Now, Oracle have not built this into eBusiness Suite. They have written a white paper that tells you how to do it. And I think on the next slide, I'm going to say, here's another webinar where we did it. Go back, Drew, but I'll come back to it. And I'm going to go through this very quickly because we did have a webinar that went into this in depth. But basically, what we want to do is we want to say, I'm going to use this AI service. The problem is that AI service needs to understand the database. The database, a new database, a modern database, has metadata in it that the AI can use to understand what it was being used for. eBusiness Suite doesn't have that. So our first problem is, how is the service going to understand our data? And what Oracle have cleverly said is, actually, we can reuse those views that we created for the enterprise command centers. You don't actually have to install ECC, you just have to run the scripts that generate those views. They put those views into a new AI database, so 23 AI today. But they also create a new schema in your eBusiness Suite and say, put them in there as well. So they're in both databases, both the one you're running your AI service in and the one that your eBusiness Suite is in. You then ask the question, who was my oldest unpaid invoice, in an Apex front end to that AI database. It goes away and generates a query based on those views. There is no data in that database, just the views. It generates the SQL, passes that SQL back to your eBusiness Suite instance, which is probably 19C, and then runs the SQL against that. That is the fastest ever explanation you're going to get of Ask EBS. The link to the white paper is there. But basically, to summarize that, if I go to the next page, Drew, to summarize that, this problem with eBusiness Suite has always been there. Since day one, getting data out with SQL has required you to understand the logic that is in the application. It's always been a problem. It's a legacy problem. We have solved it with third-party tools. To put AI in, Oracle have been able to do it. I've called it a sledgehammer to crack a nut, but because they had ECC, they have been able to find a way that we can run Select AI with eBusiness Suite. Okay, because they had that. Now, in our full presentation on this, I did say that should this be your tipping point to Fusion? What I'm saying is if you want it built in, that's where you need to go. But we can, and Oracle have shown us how we can run AI services. That's the one that they've shared. We're going to talk to you here on this presentation about other services and how we can make them work with eBusiness Suite and how that can add value to your organization. True? So we have an archiving solution, which we also talked about on that previous webinar, but we have an archiving solution for our customers who've moved from eBusiness Suite to Fusion. We're not trying to sell that to you today. Obviously, you're all on eBusiness Suite and happily staying there. But what we're trying to explain here is this is eBusiness Suite data, but we don't have an application with it of eBusiness Suite. We have an Apex application on top of it, which is our archiving front end. And we have a number of reports in there, but we also have the ability for customers to write their own. Now, because we're not tied to eBusiness Suite, we can run this in a 23AI, which we do. And that means that we could run the Select AI within the same database, which we do. And because we have our own views, because we needed to solve that problem, how do we understand the data if there's no logic in it? Because we have our own views for the archiving, we'd solve that problem as well. But again, what we're trying to say here is these AI services can be used with any data source. This data source here is a copy of eBusiness Suite, and we are successfully running it in 23AI with our views and with Select AI. So our archiving customers can say, oh, I'm thinking about a supplier we had 10 years ago. Can you still give me the data for them? And it can. Next slide, Drew. So if we look at the services, we've talked about Ask EBS and the EBS archiving solution. They're both using the Select AI service. We also talked on our previous webinar, and I think it'll be your next click, Drew.
No, the expense automation and validation. Yep.
Okay. We, if it doesn't come up, folks, it will be in the email that you get. But in our Ask AI webinar at the end of last year, we talked about Ask AI and we talked about our archiving solution in much more detail than I've just gone into. We also talked about how in our organization we were using it for automating expenses and validating expenses, and that was using document understanding. So this is where you ingest a PDF into your database and then it can use what that document says in a query. And then the third one here, expense validation, helping people to automate bulk processes. Again, in this case, against our policies. So those we've covered in previous webinars. What we're going to do is look at some other services now. So back to Drew.
Thank you, Deborah. I'm going to talk about two just briefly, and then there'll be three that will come up on the screen that we're going to do a deeper dive into. So the two that have just come up on the screen are service ticket auditing and resource forecast agent. So the service ticket auditing, we are actually using the Gen AI service. We are a consultancy firm and we offer a managed service, and we have support tickets that we have to obviously manage and fix for our customers. But we like to make sure we're doing a good job, so we actually audit our own tickets. We previously had the team manually do that, but using Gen AI and APIs that call into our GSM service, we go and fetch the relevant data, and it brings back and it checks all the tickets. It checks, the comments on the tickets and the status that it's in, etc. And it finds out whether, based on our policies, if that can pass an audit. Now, the idea behind that is we are then improving our quality. We're ensuring that our consultants are managing their tickets better, and it aims for faster identification of improvement within our support tickets if anything are needed. And it also can highlight patterns and inconsistencies. It allows us to get through so many more audits than a person doing it manually would be. So that has worked out really well for us. We even have our own sort of services league table that all the teams are trying to compete against each other to be the best. Now, our resource forecasting agent, we again are a consultancy firm, and we have to, especially within my division, I have numerous teams with different skill sets, and we have to plan appropriately the work that they will do on projects. So we have a resourcing tool that we do that and manage that. We are looking to bring in a sort of chat AI, a chat bot that then allows us to ask questions like, are there any double bookings for this individual, or how much availability does the person have in the next 2 months? So we're working on that at the moment, and we're in a bit of a proof of concept stage, but that is looking to make us a lot more efficient within our approach of how we resource our projects. But the ones I want to go into more are 3 here. We're using Code Assist, Gen AI, another Gen AI one, and the database AI vector search. So the solution prototyping is where we're using Oracle Apex. I'm about to talk through that one. Outturn planning, it's an application that we build that sort of manages complex projects data. And the reason I want to mention that is just it can be any application that you've built that you can then call Gen AI on. It's basically a large subset of data, and then you are allowing Gen AI to interpret that data and analyze it and give you good information back that you would not normally have, or you'd have to do manually. And then finally, we have a sales order comparison one that I'll talk through in regards to a customer giving us a challenge. The first one I want to talk through is the Code Assist AI service. We were asked, the idea behind this is the art of the possible. Whenever we're building applications for customers, they want to be able to see what we're building. They trust us. They believe that we're able to do it. But a great example would be they're wanting to see how it will look first, so that they get an idea of what's possible and what it's going to look like. So to talk you through the sort of process of what we've done is we received requirements for a customer. They gave us a spreadsheet with 27 columns, and this was used for procurement tracking. We simplified that spreadsheet as a bit of a proof of concept, just so we could then try and gather the information in a simpler way for the customer to understand. So the next stage was then the data model. We created the data model based off of this spreadsheet. So we, obviously, as you can see on the screen, we went into the database and we created the appropriate table, and we populated it with data that the customer would then understand. So we ran that within Oracle Apex. So we now have got the database structure and the data. Now, the reason I want to sort of pause on this one and talk about eBiz is you will have customizations likely within your eBusiness system. This is actually a great example. While I'm talking through this, start thinking about the fact that you have got customizations on your database objects. You potentially already have the data model there, and you could follow what I'm about to explain of using Oracle Apex's AI Assist to start building you potential prototypes, or even just modernizing your user experience rather than through eBusiness using Oracle Apex. Now, Apex can come as part of your Oracle database. So if you don't know that you've already got it, I know multiple customers that we have and people on the call will all likely be using it. But some of the prerequisites for what I'm about to show you is you need to have Apex version 24.1, and then you need to also have an AI provider. Now, some customers already have got AI providers. If not, then you can obviously go to Oracle, and you could then purchase a 20TI database and then use their services as well. So there's not a lot of prerequisites required in order for you to use what I'm about to explain. But I wanted to just point that out, that you could actually be doing this on your customizations. Right, we've created the data model. Next, we need to create a prompt. So in Apex AI Code Assist, then we have created a prompt here. On the right-hand side, you can see we're looking to build a procurement application, and we are asking for certain prompts. Now, the stronger the prompt, the greater success that you're going to get. So we did spend a lot of time on this prompt to make sure that we were getting what we needed. The next stage is then actually just calling on your prompt into the Apex AI Assistant. Now, we fed this into the Apex AI Assistant. It took us a couple of iterations. We obviously amended the prompt based on what it was doing, but it was very impressive what it actually built for us. It built a huge starting point. But then we wanted this development part, this enrichment. Now, in the screenshot you can see on the right-hand side was one of the finished pages. It was actually split into 2 pages. So we got the developer to then able to enrich it by merging the 2 sort of components into 1 page. But the point of the story is that an application now, it may not be enterprise ready. You may want to be making it more secure, for example, or it may need an awful bit more work. But from an art of the possible and from customers getting to see exactly what you're doing, it can be very impressive, and you can get the job done an awful lot quicker than what you would normally do if you went through a proof of concept design stage, etc. So a great Oracle AI service that we use for our solution prototyping, and we are actually working with some customers from the customization perspective. So something you should be thinking about now for your e-business environment. Now, moving on to the next AI service is Gen AI. The example that I'm going to explain today is as I mentioned, we've got an outturn planning tool. Now, it doesn't actually matter what the application is, but just very briefly, the application is for project forecasting tool. It consolidates budgets and variations and actuals for a quantity surveyor to go on and manage their project. Okay. Now, the screen on the right-hand side, we included a Gen AI service. So the application has got all its menus at the top where you can see the report. It's got a very complex report that captures all of this data, the actuals data, the budget data for tasks, and the forecast of how much this current cost and spend is going to be. Now, it's a lot of information, and as I said, we then created a button that then calls on generative AI, just calling on the Gen AI service, because all of the data is held there in the database. So we're using AI to give us summarizations and trends. And so some three key questions that you see on the screen are: show the top 5 tasks which are performing worst against budget, ranked by overall variance as a percentage highest to lowest. They're quite a detailed question, but very powerful when it comes back. It's checking hundreds, and in some cases thousands of tasks to find out what the lowest performing ones are, because the quantity may want to hone in on that and find out what's going on with it. Other questions we can ask is: what is the month-on-month trend for the project, and is it improving? And can you provide me with recommendations for top 3 areas of this project that I should focus on to improve my project outcome? We are using the power of AI for it to sift through all this information and work out the answers, get us analyzing and improving decision making. So very, very powerful if you've got a complex application that you may have built within Apex, or you've got that can read that data and then interpret it in a manner that would be a lot quicker than someone manually doing it. And finally, from the fourth example that we're going to use is the database AI vector search. So a client came to us with a challenge. So sales managers were spending a long time providing quotations for customizations on trucks and vehicles, and they needed input from multiple teams to be able to then assess what was needed. Now, we had 2 options here. We could have went down what you've seen previously, which was the database angle. We could have then, but we didn't have that translation layer that Deborah was talking about in the Select AI piece. So we would have to have built that. We would have to then, because the relational table has got parent-child relationships and like headers and etc., headers and lines. We thought, well, where is all this data getting held? It's getting held on a sales order. So we then thought we could use the vector search functionality to chunk the documents and into obviously pieces of data. And we were then able to, using multiple, so all of the sales order within the system that were held at the database level, then has got, we could ask questions on it to find out the interpretation. So as you can see on the screen, the sales order is laid out, obviously a basic sales order for the proof of concept that we did for the client. It's got all of the inventory details that it requires. And then we asked the question within our AI tool, show me an order that has got 3 automatic climate control types, 3 airbags, 3 diesel powertrains. So very specific information about the order, about the trucks. And then it comes back and says, the closest we have got is sales order SO007. And then we can ask, give me a summary of the order on 007. And we can interpret that data that has been captured on documents rather than it being, and it's in the database, but we didn't need that translation layer. We were able to append that based off of the documents. So hopefully that makes sense. But obviously, if we've got more time, we can discuss that further.
So what I really love about this, Drew, is that vector search isn't just I'm looking for X. it will come back with the closest 2x. And that's so powerful for an organization like this, because that's what they were looking for. Okay, so in summary, AI is not built into EBS. However, the AI services that are available in OCI can be used. They can be used with any document, with any data source. eBusiness Suite is just a data source. By understanding those constraints, we can successfully use AI with eBusiness Suite. And I hope that, you know, through the webinars that we've done, that were pre this one, and the webinar that we've done today, that we've shown that there is so much that's possible for you to do. And if you want to understand those use cases in more detail, or if there's anything that we can do to help you to go further on your journey with your eBusiness Suite and the power of AI, then just reach out. Drew? And we are out of time, but if there are any questions, I can't see any. But what I would say is, you know, just email us if you've got any questions. But what I would say is we're doing an awful lot of work with eBusiness Suite customers. And starting at AI World last year, we've been running a little survey about how people are using it, what modules they're using, you know, where are they? Have they got any plans? What are the particular areas that they're using? Because like eBusiness Suite is a lot of modules. And so we've had this survey running for a while, and we would like to have more input. So, you know, use this QR code. It will be in the follow-up email. Just let us know how you're using it. And in return, what we're going to do is share that data with the people that have taken part, a white paper about what the findings were and the trends are, and that will help you to validate what you're doing. You know, sometimes a sales manager says, oh, you're behind, you shouldn't be doing this, but actually you'll be surprised at how many people are successfully running incredible businesses with eBusiness Suite. So we've got a whole load of blogs. We have many Business Suite customers, and we like to keep them up to date with what's going on. So again, on our website, there are a lot of blogs. And we hope that you found this useful. Our next webinar will be one of those on trends, but I think we're also planning one on security. So any questions, come back to us, and you will get a follow-up with all of that information shared with you. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.